Good evening, everyone. So I'm so happy tonight. Like every night we have our podcast, I have to
every
say.
night.
I'm always happy.
I see you every 2 weeks for a podcast.
Yes. So welcome here. This is Talk It Out. It's me, Francesca and Lisa, and we have a special guest tonight, Annette Aghazarian. And then soon we're going to discover what this beautiful woman is doing.
What are you all about? Oh my God. Not like we don't know already because we've been yapping for like
exactly.
how long.
But then that's for you. And first off, I want to really say that you can find our podcast on YouTube, on Facebook, on Amazon Music, on Apple Podcast, on Spotify. We're here, ready to go. So
we're already laughing.
We've been laughing for a little bit already because we were talking already a lot.
It's because everybody, I mean, I'm sure everybody can agree, the traffic situation in the city of Montreal, I don't even want to say it. It boggles my brain. It really does. And the weather, I don't even want to say that either. But I am. It's horrible. But we're all here and we're happy and we're laughing. We're laughing.
Actually, we're not really laughing because it was kind of a tragedy just to get here. But you should take the best out of it. So we are kind of laughing now. So first off, I want to introduce. I said we have a special guest tonight, Annette Aghazarian, and we're very happy because besides the fact she's a beautiful woman here, and she's also a writer, a journalist. She wrote for Montreal Gazette. She had several other experience. Currently, she's writing and very active with Montreal Rocks, which is a local music blog that has lots of views. And she's been interviewing many artists, local artists, but not only international. She's been doing interviews, reviews, Zoom interview, and we were talking about the mystery of editing. So probably we're gonna tackle it too. That's gonna be a tough one. And she's also into photography. She's also a photographer. I've seen some of her pictures. She's doing lots of things.
That concludes our podcast.
Exactly. That's why she's here. So, Lisa, do you have some question for our special guest?
I do. Okay, I have a booklet here, but I do have questions for you.
How much time we got?
Well, I don't know. Seeing that we've been talking all along, it would have been like a 2-hour podcast.
Possibly.
So first and foremost, I'm sure everybody would be interested to know for you to give us a little bit of a background, like where you're from, what led you to this point, this career that you've chosen.
I've always loved writing, and I've always loved books, and I've always loved music. So I'm able to combine it all together. So I have a lot of early childhood memories listening to music. Mm-hmm. We grew up listening to a lot of music in our house. We all took piano lessons and things like that. And I always loved writing. I was just drawn to writing and reading books. When I was a child, I was trying to remember because my earliest memories, and my mother used to bring me every Friday, she'd bring me to the library, drop me off for a few hours, and I would just gather all the books and records, because in the olden days, you could play records at the library. I don't know.
Steph would know that.
Do you remember these times?
I have no idea what you're talking about. No idea what you're talking about. I was trying
to explain it to my son because these are like he has Spotify and Apple and all these mediums now. And as a child, like we had the radio and that was it. There was we didn't have computers, no internet.
What about the yellow Walkman? Come on.
I have.
Yes, we all had the yellow. You don't know what a Walkman is.
Speak for yourself, Vani.
I have a Discman and it still works.
Oh, really?
I do.
I used to run with a Discman. It was like
it's like this big.
Oh my God!
And then I used to plug it into my Pontiac Sunfire.
Oh my God!
That was so cool.
These are memories.
Remember that plug? It had the cigarette lighter.
Yes, you need the cigarette lighter to make it.
Because the cars didn't have CD.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Back. Anywho, so that's it. So I would go to the library and put on records and listen with my little headphones and discover all kinds of music. And I was always fascinated by all types of music, different countries, different cultures, different genres. So I just grew up like that and I followed it. Anyways, so that's where it started, the writing and the music together.
Yeah.
But then things change. You know, you go to school, you go to work. You don't always know that what you really enjoy, you're going to end up doing. You know.
Yeah.
So I pursued a lot of different avenues. Like I went to college, I went to university, I studied different things. I did journalism, I did creative writing, I did literature, and then I worked for a big corporation for many, many years. And I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to say anything bad. It was a great company, but I realized it was not a good fit for me. So fast forward, I started freelance writing, and then one thing led to another. And many, many years later, I ended up writing about music, which was my favorite thing to write about. So,
nice.
Yeah.
But what is it about music that inspired you to go towards that venue? And I'm talking about music in general. Is there a specific genre that you were more, that you sensed that it was more of an inspiration for you to lead you to there? Or was it just the idea of the music, the idea of artists?
Well, I remember like going to my very first rock concert when I was like 14, 15, because I had older cousins that were like boy cousins.
Chad Kroger. Yeah.
And no, my first real big ass concert was The Clash at the Verdun Auditorium.
Oh,
yeah.
Amazing.
And I was like, I was a kid, and I was just
Clash. Wow.
the skinheads and the mosh pits. And I was just like stunned, you know, like my mouth was open, and I was like, wow, like this is a completely different world.
Yeah.
You know, scary and exciting.
Yeah.
But it felt really good to be there, you know?
Yes.
I mean, fast forward many years later, I was at what was the name of that band I just went to see not too long ago? I blanked out and I don't have my phone with me. It was a ska / with a female singer.
Oh my God.
What's her name?
Skin? No.
Oh. Anyway, it'll come to me later. So I was at another type of show like this, you know, and it was like 30, 40 years later, and you're like, I still get that same rush.
Oh,
and that
nice.
same feeling that I got like 40 years ago.
That's
you know?
amazing.
Now it's bugging me. What's the name of that band? It's a female singer. She sings that song, Gasoline, the one about lighting the match.
Oh my God.
The Gasoline song with the lighting the match.
Gasoline song. My
She
mother
has black hair. Oh, she's so, come on, Google it.
Yeah, that's what
I can't get into my phone. Okay, there's
What's her
something.
name? The
Gasoline song.
No. No. No, what's her name?
Not Halsey? No Halsey?
No.
Halsey, Prevail, Haim, Seether.
No.
Band? It's a band, no?
God, I reviewed them and now I'm blanked out. What was their name?
Oh wait,
Should I go get my phone?
Hang on.
Okay.
The lollipop, gasoline lollipops.
no.
We're gonna discuss.
It'll hit us. It'll hit us sooner or later. Yeah, it's gonna come. It's gonna come.
Because now that we're like,
it sounds like the Replacements, but it's not the Replacements. It's a name like that. Anyways,
that's interesting.
The Rembrandts.
But
no.
Now it's gonna be like, okay, I got it. Okay, it's gonna come.
Okay,
it'll come.
The funny thing, because you were talking about your first concert and mine, very Italian. My first concert was 9 years old, and it was Antonello Venditti. It's the Flaminio Stadium, which is like a very local singer. And it's like he wrote the songs like Grazie Roma, Roma. Yeah, that was very...
The Interrupters.
There you go, we got it.
It's perfect.
That was so appropriate.
Yeah, because Interrupters. Yeah, amazing.
Sorry, it's the Interrupters.
But see, we needed to push you out of your thoughts.
Yes, sorry.
So now I have another questions like that. It's more really close to the idea of writing. So now you're writing about music mainly, but you also had the chance to do, as you were saying, to study creative writing and probably to write, of course, about other things. So what it entails or differs to write about music, at least for you, compared to other subjects, let's say news or stuff. Is there something that, I don't know, you like more because maybe you can be more creative, or there's the little touch, the little feeling that you can put there? What's the difference? What it entails?
So, what does it entail? It's different. I've written like newsletters for corporations, and I've interviewed people going through, you know, different types of experiences, things like that. So, writing about music that's a hard question.
Yes.
You know,
we like to go and guess on the spot sometimes.
No. Why do I like? You know what though? Writing about music is really hard because you often everything I say sounds cliche. It's like it was a great show, and I felt the energy of the crowd, and you know, like I end up using a lot of the same terminology. You know, it's the vibration was high and the show was electric. It always sounds like the same freaking review over and over again. So I try to make it personal. How did I personally feel? Like when I got to the venue, how did I feel? What did I notice right away? I don't just put the set list out. Because I used to be like that. It would be like, okay, these are all the songs they sang. This is, you know, they were good. This was my favorite song. I like this, you know, what. But like, music is so emotional.
It's like a flow that comes and goes.
But you feel it. I mean, everyone's there sharing the same experience to a certain extent. Because like, how often are you at a concert, right? And they're playing a specific song and you look around the room and there's like all types of different age groups and different people coming from different cultures and different backgrounds and different experiences, but they're all singing the exact same words. And maybe for them it means something different, but in that moment they're feeling the same emotion, you know? So I still feel that way when I go to shows and I'm in the moment, and I still have the same reaction that I did when I was like 14 or 13.
That's beautiful.
It doesn't change. It's like revisiting old songs, you know. So I have a kid, and sometimes he'll go through my records. I have vinyl records, and he'll pull one out. I'm like, oh my god! He pulled out Van Halen. I have Van Halen, Women and Children First. He's like, Ma, why do you have this record? Like, it's not a very popular record. I'm like, I haven't played this record in like 30 years. So he'll put it on, and I'll revisit it, and it'll bring back memories, and it'll bring back emotions, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when I was in high school and I bought this record and I went downtown to Sam the Record Man with my friend Nina, and we skipped school, and then we had a cigarette, and then you know, like it brings you back to that moment,
like postcards from the past.
It's like photographs, like looking at a photograph, and it brings you back to the memories.
Nice memory. A lot of nice memories.
We were lucky actually at the time. We did not have like
internet,
Facebook, internet, because otherwise we would be.
It would be terrible. Oh my god!
But I think the constant in all of that, like we were saying, the Walkman and music is the constant. In 20 years, they're going to be remembering today hearing Justin Bieber when they were, or you know, on the iPad or whatever it is. They're going to have memories, and music is the constant. I believe it's always the thing that stays the same. The medium is different. How you listen to it is different, but it'll always hit, you know, that girl, like his, whatever, the memories come back with music.
But I love that vinyl is back, and I kept all my vinyl records from when I was a kid, and my son plays them, and now people like Jack White are starting like labels and printing on vinyl, and it's resurfacing again.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. Also, they have like this kind of a taste, you know. It feels different. It smells different when you touch it. Like it, you know, to have a cultural product in your hands. Besides, like we have MP3, WAV, like all these files now that you cannot touch. Like and I had a big collection of CDs. Like at least a CD was a thing, you know. And now with vinyls, it's beautiful because you have like the lyrics, sometimes the pictures.
That's it.
And it was like, it was amazing, you know?
I feel that songs don't stay long enough nowadays. Like it's on to the next one really quick. Whereas when we were younger, it was like that song for 2 years was at every party, at every. Right now, it's like the summer after the end of the month. What's the next one? You know, Pitbull just released 12 songs, right? Like whatever it is, you know.
They all sound the same.
But even if you think about albums, no, right now we're still talking about albums from the past. They still they're so important right now for us. But right now, as you know, Stefan, what you were saying, right now they have this song and it's one summer. Well, we're still talking about Clash. We're still talking about Led Zeppelin. We're still talking about all these people, you know.
I find that even with the vinyl, they're timeless and they're genuine, and it's you can identify yourself with it. Like the kids of today will identify themselves with Discord or whatever, but I don't find it holds the same meaning.
Yes, but on TikTok they identify with all the songs that are playing on TikTok for 2 months.
But I'm talking
Led Zeppelin just released their catalog to TikTok. Did you hear?
Really?
Oh, really? Really?
Just recently.
Isn't that hilarious?
Now they're going to make even more money.
Oh yeah.
Good for them.
They needed
for
it.
them,
They
but
needed
them, their excuse, everything they do, like, you know,
Yeah,
that's
of
happening, they
True.
can do, we kind of excuse them. They
Yeah.
can get all the money they want.
It's true, because
they
it's that.
deserve it.
Because it's that.
Because it's that.
I just had this great conversation with an artist just last week who's releasing an album, State of Sate, November 4th.
Nice.
And she was fabulous. And she's coming out with vinyl. And we talked about how, as a child, she grew up putting you put the record on the turntable and you leave it there and you let every single song play.
Yeah.
And the song tells a story. One song goes into the next song, right?
Yes.
And it's not like singles like on Spotify where you play one song and that's it. It's like you put down the album and you play the entire album and it tells a story.
But that's what that's
Yes.
why I say it's very authentic, because it gives you a background without even realizing it of the artist.
Even the order of each track,
Yes.
the way it unfolds is telling you a story.
Yeah.
Everyone here has listened to Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, right?
Mhm.
It starts off, and then it breaks. You know what's coming and you know where it's leading.
Yeah.
And you just sit there and you experience it like a whole trip.
Yeah, sometimes it's so crazy because if you think the original experience of the people who actually, for the first time, heard this type of music,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like I'm still sometimes when I listen to the album, like I'm like, oh my God, right, ready to fly. You know? Like, okay,
Yes.
it's tight.
It's a
But
trip.
then, can you imagine at that time
Yes.
to write the music, to listen to the music, to feel that experience was so magic. Like,
I find there was more inspiration back then. Like today there are, but I find that there are artists. Now I'm not just talking music. I'm talking even in the acting world, in artist entertainment in general. There's a lot of people who emulate or take ideas.
Yeah, they
from.
copy. Yeah.
It's remakes, song remakes,
Yeah.
Whitney Houston or whatever. That's the only difference I find. Back then, I find it was very authentic in terms of the sound, the music. You create it. Now it's all synthesized, or more so, I would think, than from back then.
Yeah, definitely. Most of it's done in studio.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes like Zeppelin, I remember recorded an album in a mansion, an empty mansion, and they
Yes.
just hung microphones from the top
Yeah.
to get the general sound of
That was
the,
crazy.
as opposed to now, it's a lot of times a drummer might not even play in studio because,
Or they're not even together. Like each person like records their track separately,
and then
it's mixed in a studio. So there's not that feeling of all these musicians together in a room connecting.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's why.
we're hoping that it's done, in kind of quote unquote rehearsal.
Yeah.
We're hoping that's the songwriting part of it is still there. And I'm sure it is. It's just a lot of the pop artists now is very formulaic. It's very this is what we need. Bridges are out of let's write a bridge. No, that's not in right now. Not for today's music. Maybe in a couple of months we'll go back to having a bridge in a song.
Exactly.
But
But it's like having a formula now, as you were
yeah, it's a
saying.
formula. It definitely is a formula.
And someone else is creating the formula for the artist.
But it's
and then
what the problem is. It's the market as well. Because
Yeah.
who buys the music? It's the parents of the 13 and 14-year-olds.
Ah.
And the old school guys like us.
Yeah.
I'm glad you qualified.
But it's true. It's true. They know who to write. I'm talking radio stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
They write it for the kids because they're the ones that are going to invest the time into it. That's when they're discovering music. My son now, he's 14. All of a sudden, all these heavy metal bands are kind of. He's like, I love this. I love that. Oh
Yeah,
God, I want to go
yeah,
see the. So that's when they're discovering it and they're investing into it. And the parents are always purchased, back in our day, purchase. Now it's all free. But still, back in our day, it was the parents that would buy it for the kids. I need that album. I need the new Extreme album, or I need the new Metallica album. And my parents bought it for me, as a gift, right? It was a gift.
Yeah, it was a great day.
Unless we stole it from
Exactly.
Columbia House,
It was a great day.
Don't get me started about Columbia House.
Columbia House, yeah.
Off the record.
Off the
I'll tell
record,
you
okay.
My Columbia House stories.
Oh my God. But I find back then they had, it was a departure to your traditional musical sound. I find they experimented a lot in the past. Now I find it's all put together. It doesn't come together organically. I find it comes together.
It's a product,
put together. And I find the difference. I'm not sure if you would agree, but
Not all artists, but the majority of artists. But I still know artists that have their studios and get together and jam and practice and come up with different sound. Like I know still artists like that.
Yeah.
And they're not the ones making a shit ton of money.
Yes.
Obviously. But I've talked about this also with people. And it's like, at the end of the day, are they happy with their song? Is it the song that they want to release out there? You know, how do they feel about the song?
Yeah.
Right? It didn't make $10 million. It didn't get 10 million streams, but I'm proud of that song.
Yeah.
And it's my art, and I'm happy with it.
In the end, it's,
That's the core, the pure reason that they should do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I find that distinguishes you from, I guess, a creative talent. I mean, you want to be distinct when it comes to anything you do in entertainment, especially in music and in acting. You have to have that distinct flavor, something that you haven't found before.
Well, you want to stand out to be either the next big thing or the new sound.
But you know what? I find that everybody wants to be the next best thing. I find the person who is humble and doesn't seek it out, but gives of themselves within that final product, I find that that's what stands out.
Exactly.
Right? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean everybody can identify with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need the whole globe of 1 billion people. But I mean, that small following that can identify, that means you know you've done something right? You stood out for yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's also like a lot of artists like don't necessarily have like 10 million followers or fans, but you don't need 10 million fans. You know, 1 million fans are enough. You know?
Yeah, you don't need that much.
We have people around.
Are you waving me down? What's happening?
But Annette, I have a question for you. So you've been going to many concerts and interviewing different artists. So maybe you can have, like, we were talking about a little bit about trends. So now everybody's concerned with streamings, and music is sometimes created for like younger crowd. So like on the table, no, like, okay, just planned. So do you see some trends that goes through, like, you know, like the music, maybe
like
trends,
formula?
Exactly, a formula all over the, even like more experienced artists are forced to use, even could be also from, you know, not only musically speaking, not only in terms of sounds, but also in terms of a marketing approach.
Well, I reviewed Paul McCartney's album last year, his latest, and I forget what it's called. It's a number. It's like McCartney.
Oh, it really stood out then.
But
the name is.
But then it was revisited by other artists. Like he got other people like Beck and stuff like that to come. Now, McCartney doesn't really need to release any more music.
No,
he doesn't need any money.
The royalties that he has.
Exactly. But it was during the pandemic, and he was in his castle in England somewhere, in his farm.
Yeah.
And he has a studio, and he just started making music, which that's what he does, and good for him. But then he got young artists, very young and new upcoming artists to remake the songs with him.
Oh, nice.
So, and they were happy to work with him, you know? So it was cool. But now, what was your question? I just lost my track.
There's some trends that you've been seeing throughout, not just music trends, like really in terms of something that artists right now, they do. And you have seen like in many bands, in many things, like...
What are the latest trends right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're noticing in terms of the industry.
If you notice something.
I'm not sure how to answer. Like trends meaning... Like, here's the thing now. I know a lot of people with studios in their home.
Yes.
And they have like a lot of like technology to self-produce. So they don't need, even especially a lot of women now are producing more than ever.
Yeah.
So
this is actually a good point. Self-producing now is a big thing.
A lot. I mean, primarily there was like 2% of producers in the music industry are women. Only 2% out of 100. Yeah, it's so now there's more and more women producing, and like if I have the technology and if I have the knowledge, and let's say I go to school and I learn production and stuff like that, I don't need a bunch of men telling me that you have to put on booty shorts and sing about twerking, which is like the majority of songs. So like, I mean, you know what, I like Doja Cat and I like Megan Thee Stallion. I do. I'll listen to some of those skanky songs. They're fun. I do. Like my son was on We got in the car the other day. My Spotify went on, and it was Doja Cat. My son's like, "What? Are you listening to this?" They're like, "There's two songs that they make me laugh, and they're funny, and they're
Why not?
With wine,
sorry."
No, with wine, it goes down great.
You're driving, Bonnie.
No, you know what? No,
Doesn't matter.
Whatever.
if I'm stuck in traffic and I'm cranky,
Yeah.
and I put on like some Doja Cat song, it's gonna make me laugh.
Really? I should have done that this evening.
So
You should try.
So my point is though, but those are those, I call them the booty songs. There's just like a whole genre of booty songs. That's all it is, and it's twerking and it's booty, and that's great. But it's great, but it kind of depresses me on another level because it's like, is this all there is? Like, is this all you've got?
Exactly.
Like, what's gonna happen? Like I'll still listen to Diana Ross. She's like 75 years old and she's phenomenal. Let's say.
She's phenomenal.
See?
Yep.
Or Tina Turner.
you.
Let's
Oh,
say.
Thank you.
Let's
What?
say-
80s.
Let's
Yes,
say Tina
80s.
Turner. Okay.
Tina Turner, yes.
Now, in 50 years from now, is Doja Cat gonna get up
Absolutely
in a
not.
booty
Probably
short
not even close.
and sing about her booty? Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather not see that.
no, but I'm
Me neither,
saying
yeah.
it's not gonna stand the test of time.
I don't think any music, I don't know. It will, but I don't think it's going to stand the test of time like the songs that we, like Stairway to Heaven is always Stairway to Heaven. And I don't think there's going to be songs like that are created today in 20 years. I don't see that happening because like I said, they don't last. They last 2-3 months,
Yeah,
a summer, and then it's over.
There's no impact.
You know, it's my whole high school, every dance I went to in high school was Stairway to Heaven was the last song.
Yeah.
Right?
You
It's-
slow dance and you're like, oh no.
That's it.
Now, if you go to the second dance and they're still playing
Oh,
the same
God,
songs,
it's
it's
a
like,
booty
oh, what's
song.
happening? We heard it last dance,
Yeah,
you know?
like what do they slow dance to now? Like a booty song? Like
I don't even know.
or they twerk. It's
No,
twerking.
I know.
I don't. Okay, I'm old. I feel old. It is what it is.
I have a question for you,
Uh-huh.
touching on something you just said.
Uh-huh.
What is your impression, or why would you? What is your feeling on there being only 2% female producers?
It's tragic. I just had an interview with the Margaret McGuffin, who's what's her? I have to get her title right. My brain is like tired.
Google.
I didn't bring my phone. She's the CEO of Canada Music Publishing.
Okay.
And she's the first female of that. And she started a program called for women producers.
Uh-huh.
And I wrote an article about it, and I interviewed her last year. And it's all about women in the music industry producing more. Because if a woman is producing her own music, she's calling the shots.
Yeah.
She's not in a room. I'm not dissing men on any level.
You
Not
know what?
now.
Even
But
if you do, I'm okay with it.
No,
because
but I'm bringing back to my Joni Mitchell theory because, see, back in like 50 years ago, now her albums are classics, but 50 years ago, the industry didn't like Joni Mitchell. She
Yeah.
was difficult.
Mhm.
She was a bitch. She was, they did not like her at all because she had her vision.
and she stuck with it.
She knew what she wanted. She had her sound. She wrote her lyrics.
Yeah.
She composed her music. She went from folk to jazz to blues. Like
Yeah.
she went everywhere because that was her creative process,
Yeah.
right? I read her biography and it's really, really
Oh,
good.
that's
She's fascinating. So back to Joni Mitchell. So
You have your Joni Mitchell theory.
yeah. So she was difficult, but she wanted to produce and she wanted her vision. So going back now, so if more women are producers, it's like, this is the sound I want. These are the lyrics I want. Like, as an artist, you should just be able to execute your own vision completely from A to Z without other people in the room. And these are just businessmen or whatnot, corporate people saying, we need more booty songs, or we need you to sing about this, or stick to this
Chorus.
formula. And a lot of female artists, like back to Joni's, because she was a folk singer, then she came out with jazz,
Yeah.
and they're like, no, stick to folk because nobody's going to buy your jazz, right?
Yeah.
But she's like, well, I'm not into this anymore. I'm evolving. As an artist, I'm
Yes,
changing
for
and
sure.
I'm growing, right?
Like it happens painting
And they didn't-
and pictures and,
that's
every
right.
form of art.
Exactly. You evolve, you
Yeah,
change,
for
you
sure.
grow.
Megan Trainor actually surprised me when she came out. I was super impressed.
Yes.
In her video, when she saw her own video, she asked the company that did it to take her off and not play the video because she's like, that's not me. I'm not that slim.
Yes.
So I don't know what you did in the video, but that's not me, and I don't want that playing.
Right.
And she re-recorded the video from what I understand. Yeah,
She-
Megan Trainor. She said,
She's
that's
a
not me. I'm a bigger
songwriter.
girl,
Yeah.
and that's not me in the video. And I don't want to fake it. That's a fake me, and I don't want that.
No.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. It's great that the industry's
She's
coming around.
She's actually a really good songwriter.
Phenomenal.
And she writes lyrics for other people.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's what
She's
she
phenomenal.
does.
She's
Yes,
phenomenal. I
she
love it.
is.
Yeah.
But now I believe, like, at least in terms of images, the music industry is open up a little bit. Like I've seen also there's this amazing
Lizzo.
singer-songwriter.
I love Lizzo.
Yeah.
LP.
Did you see I saw her perform, and all her dancers,
Are really great. I did.
they're
larger
all,
women.
they're all bigger women. And I was like, I love this, man.
She's great. And she's
Phenomenal.
real.
She's great.
She's great, by the way. But we have like Lizzo, we have LP.
Yes.
We have, I mean, many others that
Yes.
now like
I
brain is
know.
blurred. But as to see, like in terms of visually speaking, like the music industry is totally open up a bit about that.
More.
And
Yeah.
also because I think there's been an open discussion about female women in music, at least in front of the scene, because we still have a long talk to do behind the scene.
Yeah.
And you were right, 2% of
It's
producer,
2%.
but 3% only in the entire music business industry are women behind the scene, only the
Yes.
3%.
Yes, exactly.
So that's crazy if you think about it, not including, of course, singers and people who are in front of the scene. So there are two different discussions open there. So finger crossed, but at least we're, things are kind of feeling moving, no? What do you think about that?
That whole thing, and I was telling you about the Margaret McGuffin, and it's called Women in the Studio, and it's an initiative, and it's like they're getting them from high school, kids. They're focusing on girls to realize that, like, if I'm in this music industry, if I'm a producer, if I'm behind the scenes, if I'm in the in the booth, in the recording studio, like, not only do I have more control, I'm going to make more money because I'm not paying that sound technician, I'm not paying this producer, that mixer, this guy, that. I'm not paying 20 people.
Yeah.
I know how to use the equipment, I know the technology. I'm going to make that money, and I'm going to call the shots, and it's going to sound exactly the way I want it to sound. It's my vision,
I love it. I love it. It's empowering. It really is.
Well, it's like you make a painting or you create some
You're in
artwork,
control.
and then somebody comes and takes your painting and is like, oh no, we need more booty pictures in you. We need more
you,
booties
just
in your painting.
you see boobs in the background, in the clouds.
Now it's working,
Now it looks better. I see a nipple there. That's perfect.
Like if somebody had told, like, O'Keeffe, the famous female painter, like, no, we need some booty shorts and that and behind the flowers.
fun.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
Totally.
Exactly. Next question for you. What is the biggest challenge you face as a writer?
Writer's block.
Well, that was fairly simple. Okay. Can you expand on that, Annette?
Yes, it's me when I'm home alone and I'll sit in front of my computer and then I'll click, I don't know, YouTube, and I'm like, and then I'll go into my YouTube spiral downwards. What is it? The black hole of YouTube.
You start looking and then you
And
cannot
then it's like, oh shit, it's 3:00. I gotta, I didn't finish my piece, or you get blocked or distracted, or that's my biggest challenge.
Oh, boy. I know, I can imagine.
But it's happened where I'll leave a piece and I'll just leave it hanging, and it'll be like a few days will go by, and I'm like, I don't want to revisit it.
Yeah, I'm like you.
Because it's like, I don't know, like, I left it hanging.
Until it hits you, like driving to whatever. You're on your way to a coffee shop to meet a friend. You're like, oh, now I got it.
When I'm driving, I get a lot of ideas when I'm driving. That's why voice memo. Like I do a lot of voice memo. However, also, and now I forgot what I was going to say.
Challenge.
You said challenge as well, and I said about pieces that I leave hanging that I get stuck, and I'm like, I don't want to go back there, and what am I going to say, or I don't want to finish it off. But also because when I went to school, we didn't have computers, so we used to. I had a typewriter back in the olden days. And now what I love about, I have Word on my phone. Mm-hmm. Like I'll do talking text, and sometimes I'll get an idea and I'll just say it in just Siri, and she'll type it up for me. And then I'll cut and paste. So Whereas we used to think writing is very linear, like the beginning, the middle, the ending. But now I just interviewed someone and we spoke for over like an hour and a half. And we went everywhere. We talked about zodiacs and astrology. And then her mother passed away. Like it went everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was about her new album. And so I replayed my Zoom and I was like, what am I going to do with this? This is like a whole, remember we were talking about multiple personalities? This was like a
schema of all kinds of things happening.
A lot going
the next
on.
level.
Yeah. And I'm like, what am I going to pull out of this?
Yeah.
So anyways, I took pieces like a puzzle.
Yeah.
And I just put all these, now I have like, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 words that I've written. So now I'm just going to place them as a puzzle.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Now that's going to take some concentration. But I have like the body is there, but I have to piece it together.
Okay.
And I find sometimes I work better that way. Not just like sit down and write everything in one shot. No.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you know what? Maybe this will be the intro. So I cut and paste. And it works.
Good.
Because you edit and then you remove and then you add and you remove and you...
But I think like everyone
Tetris.
has his own style and way of working and creating and building.
Yeah.
But it's also a creative piece, you know, because I mean, writing as well is a form of art and it requires lots of concentration, ideas, how to put these ideas on paper, no? Because maybe you have like this amazing concept and then you don't want it to sound like already used, like, oh, it's always there, I always use. So you always try, there's lots of work there. So, and on that, I have a quick question before we have a funny
game.
Yay! So,
nobody told me about the game.
Oh boy!
Yes, that was the intention.
This is part of the multiple personality.
But really, a quick question about interview or review?
I like interviews better.
Okay.
Reviews, I've done many reviews, and I'm not in a position to judge because like I had to review Paul McCartney's album, and I'm like, who am I? Like, I'm going to tell Paul McCartney, like, first of all, he's not going to read this, or if he does. And he's like, what does he care what I think, right? But I'd like to describe the album to the best of my abilities. And it's funny because my husband always makes fun of me. He's like, you never say anything bad. I'm like, well, no, because what's the point?
Exactly.
And sometimes I don't like an album and I won't say much about it or I didn't enjoy it, but it's not my place to say. I'll review the album and I'll say like, oh, you know, McCartney released this. He worked with Beck. It was interesting. It was this. It was that. I'm not going to
more describing things,
like
instead of giving.
Right, like if you like this, then you'll like it. But I'm not going to tell you if I didn't really.
But is music really? It's kind of like art. It doesn't mean it's for everybody.
No, exactly.
Just doesn't mean because you don't like it, it's not good. It's not my. It's very subjective. It's not my thing.
The purpose of my album reviews is to give artists publicity. That's for me, because I feel for artists. I know that times are tough and, you know, they need good reviews. They need publicity. So that's how I approach it.
And that's refreshing, by the way.
Okay, but
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Definitely it is.
My question is, how do you choose which artist to publicize?
Here's what I like now at my age and my stage of life is that I'll find people and they come up. I get a lot of messages from random people. And it's from the internet, you know, Instagram and whatever, Messenger. And people will find me and be like, can you review my album? And can you interview me? And can you write about me? And can you take my picture? And often I'll look through it and I'll be like, I don't always do it, you know, if I don't, let's say I really don't like it. I'm like, oh, I don't want to listen to this. I'm like, oh God, no. and I'm not putting my name on this, you know, or whatever. It's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not a good fit or whatever. But I've met a lot of young people, especially too, that they just need a break. Yeah. You know, they just need that one review. You know what? Who I like to review is the opening act. When I go see a big show, I'll write like, okay, you know, Crownlands. Do you know who Crownlands are? They're from Ontario. You have to check them out. They're phenomenal. So I saw them opening up for what's that something? Not Prodigal Sons. What's that something Sons?
Glorious Sons.
No,
the Glorious
another.
Sons.
Oh God, my brain. Anyways. Not Prodigal Son. What was that band?
Not Glorious. Are you sure?
No, it's not Glorious Sons. It'll come to me later. Anywho, so They opened up for Jack White,
Oh, nice.
and then I saw them opening up for 2 bands, and I went up to them after the show, and they were really cute young guys, and I'm like, next time I see you guys, you're not opening up for anybody, it's going to be your show. And they were just so sweet. They were so appreciative. So when I did my review, I wrote more about them than I did of the actual band. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's awesome.
So now they're doing their own tour, and I think they won a Juno or something. They were like
nice.
Best Canadian Rock something, you know? And they're really, really good. So I like to see opening acts.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see bands or musicians when they're just starting out.
Okay.
And then giving them that little, not that they don't need me. When you're good, you're good. But I like giving that reassurance, you know?
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, do you have another question before we go into our game?
Do we have time for another question?
It's the Grand Poobah that has
Does this mean 10 minutes? Wait. Does it mean 10 minutes?
That
or does
means
it mean
10 minutes.
or does it
No,
mean
he's
enough?
high-fiving you from
Oh.
a distance. He's
Oh,
like,
it's like,
yeah!
Get her out of here.
Oh!
No.
We should have brought our dogs too.
Yeah. So, well, another quick question out of curiosity. So, what was or is your favorite artist you reviewed or interviewed?
Good question.
Okay,
So far.
like back to the new artists. So a couple of years ago, I went to see a gospel singer named Mavis Staples.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if if you Google her, you'll know who she is. And one of the supporting acts was this beautiful young girl named Honora. And I was like, wow, who's this girl? She was from Montreal. It was for Pop Montreal. And I'm like, I've never heard of her and whatnot. So I reviewed the show. And then I asked Steve Gerard at Montreal Rocks, and I'm like, okay, get me an interview with this girl. He's like, who is she? I'm like, I don't know, but she's good. And I'm